as the partners and what they do anticipate from others. So I think the discussions is going to be focused on building this coalition or this group that will work together to pull this network up or form this network. We're going to go with a very brief brief presentations, just to give you an idea what we try to capture in this working part. And we hope at the end of the process to all of us agree on some key factors to build this partnership and some key outcomes. What do you think it should come out of it? So, what was the first me? I'm going to walk you through examples of how we develop some of these partnerships, and I'll try to be very, very brief. If you want me later to expand on something, I will be happy to do that. Okay. So I'm going to start skipping some of the slides because I think we already went through them.
You can expand.
So I'm going to skip through this because we went through it, and the second one. Okay. So I just want to say, like, when we're going to define partners, we might have so many of them, and this is a good example. So we were here in the middle, like the tracking program, and you have all these organizations around us. The question is, should all of those be brought into tracking as partners, or we should be selective on who should be participating as partners or like friends or a coalition for the tracking program? So some of the things we thought about, what will be the objective of this partnership? If we want to build this partnership, what should be our major objectives? The objective were, we have definitely to increase awareness about the tracking program. We have to increase awareness why this network is important, and be able for us and for our partners to talk on our behalf of why this partnership is very important. The second objective was what they can offer to advance the environmental and health issue that this network focuses on. What this partner will offer in terms to advance this network. And the third objective was to help us identify other groups who would be important for this program or for this network. Because like a certain partner, let's say if we partner with the Environmental Protection Agency, they might find out that there is another entity within that same organization that could be a very good partner for tracking as well. So those were our main objectives. So we defined first the objective of this partnership, what it is all about. And the second thing, we tried to prioritize our partners, who we should bring in. Our objective were to bring in who from these partners would bring a lot of resources to the network. And resources not in terms of money, but in terms of like knowledge, expertise, training, help building capacity. And the second item was to have connecting goals. Like if we have similar goals, it's easy to get together. But if we have completely separate goals, it's very difficult to build a partnership. So another item was common goals. And the third one was easiest to reach. Because sometimes you might identify a partner, but then to build this relationship, you need to go through many like loops or bureaucracy levels or obstacles that is going to take a long time to overcome. So it's important also to identify who would be your easiest partner to reach. And will be easy to engage, like let them be involved in your work, be able to participate and work with you. So the other thing to keep in mind that when we are talking about the partnership, it is always should be a two-way process. In other words, how could a partner use and help your network but at the same time, what could your network provide to this partner? So it shouldn't be one-way process. So it shouldn't be like just you are taking everything, not giving anything back. So it should be a two-way process. And so once you build this relationship, we try to do is to make always continuous communication. So there's always the communication back and forth between you and them. Informing them what you're doing, get information from them about what they are doing related to a topic of interest to both of you. When you want to make a decision, involve them in your decision-making process, and vice versa. They should involve you in their decision-making process as well. And most important thing is trust and transparency. Like you trust your partner, you trust to share information with them, or you share your data with them, and also vice versa. So, what we also, when we talked about partnership, the most important thing is always try not to talk about, I want to partner with you to come to work on this project. It's not the project, it's what would be the benefit. What would be the benefit to the partner and what would be the benefit to you, not the project that you will be working on, because the project, once it is over, this partnership is dissolved. So here you're talking about an ongoing benefit for both of you. And then focus on overlapping goals. We have similar goals. I'm going to skip that because we talked about all of those. But I want to give you some example, for example, in some state how they built the partnership, because this might help you thinking of how we need to discuss the partnership issue here. For example, like in Colorado, the geographic location of patient hospital stay is not there, is not available. And this was always a problem for the practitioner and for the researcher. They need this information, and this information is not there. So when the tracking program was formed in Colorado, they built a partnership with a hospital association to help them fulfill that need. So they were able, the tracking program, to geocode the hospital discharge records, which the hospital association need, so that they can overcome this problem with the patient hospital stay data, which is missing. So this kind built this relationship between the hospital associations and between the Colorado tracking network, so they were able to, and build that trust, so they were able to start getting hospitalization data with no problem or with no hesitation. So here we're talking about common goals. They have a problem, the tracking was able to address it, so they start this partnership. Another one is from Maryland, also about the cancer and the environment. There is always like questions, we go to the cancer registry about residents who have cancer complaining about the environment causing their cancer. But cancer registry group have no idea because they don't deal with environmental issues. So when the environmental tracking program was formed, this partnership was developed because any questions related to environment and cancer, the cancer registry would have sent it to the tracking program. So there was no mutual benefit between the two. And the cancer registry was happy to participate in tracking and to provide data and knowledge to the tracking program. So also this kind of built a relationship between these two programs, which didn't exist before. This is like birth defect at CDC. For example, when we approached the birth defect program, we asked them what we can offer them, what we can give that program. We can provide them with a platform to display their data and to link their data to environmental exposure, which is not available in the birth defect program. On the other hand, the birth defect program, based on our assistance to them, they will provide us with the data. They will take our information and give it to their partners to distribute the word about tracking. And I talked about the academic partner before. So this is just a brief summary to lead these discussions. When you want to identify partners, to keep those elements in mind. I mean, common goals, common benefit, sharing how we can share this information, not related to project, but related to the benefit of the two partners.
Thank you very much. So, regarding regarding the agenda we sent you and you have in the paper, we suggest to shift the presentations by briefly about possible funding and ideas for funding possibilities for tomorrow. We have a small session again in the group. And what we would like is that briefly Luciana, Karin and Patrick make their presentations to illustrate the partnership in international network public health, environmental public health tracking. And then we will open a general discussion with all of us, and I will come back to you just after the presentations. So please keep in mind that we have...
Yeah, we don't have to. Sure.
Thank you.
I think that the colleague from US before talked about already thinking a tracking program, I would say institutional public health tracking program, but maybe somehow, you know, you will need at the beginning to build a network of a scientist network involved in, could be, you know, they can live together these objectives. And when Lauriola called me, you know, what we need, what was the lesson learned from our international projects, and what maybe I like to share with you is that exactly what she was saying before, what we learn beyond project goals. I mean, when you are going to build a network, how to do it, why to do it, in which way. And I pick up 3 experiences. One is from Emmet Lambert, who is a European project from the FP7 founded. France was, ANSES was project leader. And we talk about, I mean, the project was quite complicated, but the project was a consortium of people which was in charge of funding environmental and health program. So the idea was to create this consortium. And I will focus on what was a task that, you know, we were leader, Messidus was leader on a recruitment strategy for new partner, which more or less, you know, it goes around with she was saying before. And I think one word that you have to keep in mind is also the network attitude of potential new partners in your network. And then I want to open an issue here that, as we heard, as we know, I believe, being environmental health experts, there are so many new challenges for our job that sometimes you have to build a partner with, you know, with sectors which are outside conventional environmental health domain. Can be, I would take you the example Rich in the Search 2 project on indoor schools, and also the need to, you know, to cope with, for example, school managers of people in charge of setting up regulation for, you know, construction buildings and materials. So you have also to think about it. They have knowledge and there are also the tools to bring up something. And the other one is the experience that we developed. I had the privilege to chair this international task force, the UNDC Water Convention, and also today, as I show you, a few slides with the no water, environmental water expert, but all the utility service managers or other people which have also the data. I think that this, we talk about data about this. This is not only important to have data from people that owns information you may use for your objective, but it's also a way to export environmental health issues in other sectors remaining. So it's part of the prevention. So as I said, it is environmental health and it's just concluded, but the consortium, is on volunteer basis still alive. And we were in charge of this network. First thing we did is we really was to create the tools to communicate and disseminate, because even if it was a EU community project funded, but we have also international potential new partners. So we identified, we use a lot of websites, but what we did was really to, first of all, clarify inside our consortium why we need, to make a lot of energy on recruiting new partners. I think these slides will be shared, so I'm not going to go around all these goals. But in this, I'm overlapping what she was saying, the speaker before was saying that, it has to be clear that, to have new partner, not something that it's weakening your role, it's something which is reinforcing and enriching your role. And it's also important that, for example, we have this recruitment strategy that was supposed to be done at several levels. But sometimes, when you have a network, there are several people in charge of several things. It can be data, modeling, or communication, dissemination, or whatever. Make sure that all of them are inside. Also, if you are facing with a network, all of them are really convinced to be part of this game. I mean, it's not only the new party, the party that have to enter the network, but also the people who, funded the network, the first group in the network itself. It's important. They have to be convinced. Because at a certain point in the first phase, we all need the help from everybody. And so here we have what we did. We provide a list of potential new partners. And in this sense, we were just looking at priority. We start first priority objectives, and then inside this, even through the internet, we try to find people that were potential new partners for the job they did. It were not only institutions, also research institute, even NGOs. Sometimes they have a lot of information. It's important to involve them, because it's something, we come back to you afterwards. And I would really make another word on this network attitude, because if I have a lesson learned from Ehrenberg, is that it's very hard to involve people which is already overburdened, from the daily work. They have already duties. We are talking about people working in science, like university, research institute, but people also working in public health authorities unit, so working on the field. It's really important to weight this will to participate. I think it's important what she said before. We had this experience that you have to make sure that people working with you is people who's thinking with you beyond the project, but it's really interested in developing the final objective. And so this would be the key word. This happens when you work inside of, we say, traditional environmental health domain. But there are other when you outreach to other sectors which you are not usually in contact in your daily job, you may have some I would say some problem, but you have to adjust yourself to cope with different sectors. This is a search which is, as I said, it was a project, was an international means European, and then I show you in the second. This project, we had the first very traditional assessing the environment and monitoring environment. In the last part, in the Search 2 project, instead, we extended the assessment not only to chemicals indoors and health assessment to children, but also to comfort and energy use in schools, which meant that we had to cope with energy people, managers, school managers, or whatever. And they have the data that we needed to make what was our last report, which are the comfort assessment, the energy use assessment. These are the countries in red that participate at the Search 2 project. And here there was also the other thing is that when you are on an international network, it could be also inter-national networks. You have also, when you collect data, be aware of some different, perception at national level. Just to give an idea, here we have, for example, people in Eastern countries that were like 10 degrees in a classroom. A kids say, "Oh, we are happy, air is very good." But if you do this in another maybe country, they won't say the same thing. These are the data that we collect. As you see, that these are we say more traditional, but as you see, we need the expert data from energy expert engineering. And so it was important for us first to engage them in the same objective of prevention of environmental health issues. And this takes a bit at the beginning to use the common language. So it's not only different language among different sectors, among different professionals, environmental health research and environmental health institutions, but it's also it could be basic science, applied science, or whatever, but it's also from different sectors. This is the future. And other things that we have, this was really a challenge inside the Water Convention, because just at UNEC level was launched this Water and Climate Task Force, and I was involved in this task force and put it in environmental health issues, even including also everything you mentioned, from early warning signals or early warning in water and climate, also include the data could be used to, for environmental health risk management. And this was quite successful because afterwards we even developed a more focused environmental health activity. And this task force that I chair, we developed, a guidance on as I showed you before, on monitor and manage the risk on water supply, sanitation, extreme weather events. Even from search, where I'm going to the conclusion. This is almost the last one. Search, we have to involve other stakeholders and professionals. You maybe cannot reach on this, but the prevention of some risk is just important. It's also, involving other environmental policies. So we are, planning to do also this. This is the result of the experience of UNEC Water and Climate. We have a guidance on water and climate where environmental health data and issues were in there to be linked with the guidance on water supply and sanitation. So this helped also to expand, I would say, your work mailing list or whatever, to be involved, to know we are in touch too. Please consider we are talking about UNEC region, so we're talking about all the European region, United Nations, so it's 53 countries. And so I'm closing here. Work on network active beyond project goals, I think, is a key word. And also barriers could be in some international activities, but also local organizations, but not to make overlapping or over-hierarching local authorities, but also technologies. Please, try to consider also in the network, building up in a network, also look at the other sectors which are not traditionally involved. Thank you.
For those of you that can thank you. Okay, I'm Patrick Saunders from the UK, and we've established a local. Can you hear me okay? Do I need the microphone?
No, I
we established a local tracking system in a small municipality in West Midlands, England, population of about 300,000. That's it's not very sophisticated, but it seems to be working. So I thought it might be useful for me to go through some of the experiences that we had in terms of recruiting partnerships to try and address these 4 key questions that the bosses have asked us to consider. 1, how to identify key potential partners. 2, what are the strategies and tactics to build and sustain those partnerships. 3, areas for potential partnership outreach. And finally, how partners could use and promote a national tracking system. So, the part of the world that I will involved with is Sandwell, which is a very poor, very deprived, post-industrial society. If you want more details about what we've done, there are a few of those on the table behind us. So why did we do this in Sandwell? Well, firstly, we've got a major industrial history which has left us with a legacy of contamination. It's one of the most deprived communities in Europe. There's an emerging evidence base that not only are poor people more likely to be exposed to environmental hazards, but there's something biological about being poor which makes them more susceptible to the effects of that exposure. So it's a double injustice. We've got very high levels of environmentally related diseases, increasing public concern, but we do have the advantage of some quite good local networks of professionals working together. So there was something for us to build on. So what have we looked at locally? Firstly, in terms of hazards, contaminated sites. This here, these are people playing cricket. This here is a slag heap. This is mining waste. And this was just accepted as part and parcel of the industrial background in Sandwell. This here, the ground's on fire. There's a history of coal mining in this area, and there are still mines that are burning. And these are locally called fiery holes, because the ground is actually hot. And this is still going on, you know, in one of the richest countries in the world. But the population is not very sophisticated, not well organised. So what we've included: contaminated sites, sources of pollution, nuisance complaints. So these are people complaining to the local authority about noise and about smells and about rats and mice. Access to environmental goods as well as bats. And healthy food, air quality, housing quality and crime. I'll come back to the exposures. Diseases, we're looking at specific cancers and specific reproductive health effects at a small area level. And in terms of the environmental goods, access to green space like parks, access to healthy foods and access to cycling. So, in terms of defining that package, how did we do that? This is where we get around to partnerships. If you're doing it locally, not nationally, if you're doing it locally, it has to be what's important to local people. If we don't take that into account, we may as well forget it. It needs to be evidence-based where possible. But we shouldn't be hidebound by the evidence. You know, we shouldn't be obsessed. It shouldn't become a fetish, evidence, because evidence can be used not to do things. It should include good and bad. It should be what's important to the public as well as the professionals. And it needs us to get the absolute maximum we can out of the data by being innovative in the sorts of analysis that we do. So what we do in Sandwell, and there's more details on this, so routine surveillance of hazards and health outcomes. We've tried some innovative statistical tools, control charts and kernel density contour monitoring. We've quantified the impact on asthmatics of reducing nitrogen dioxide levels, and that's led directly to us greening some of our bus routes, so planting trees and bushes down bus routes, because there's no other way of doing it in Sandwell. We're changing the way health professionals are working as well. I'll give you a couple of examples of that. We actively use planning controls. We have an online system where local people can register their concerns. We've got a new agreed process across all the agencies for dealing with allegations of disease clusters, and we've got about a dozen academic publications. Right, how do we do it, which is the big we're interested in? One, it's got to be a multi-agency thing, we know that. We've got to think in terms of well-being as well as health. How do people feel about themselves? What we did do, and you alluded to it this morning, Lee, is we've integrated it into partners' business plans. So it's actually in the corporate business plans, and the local authority has to deliver on training. You know, we're the only local authority in the country that's done that, so people are being held accountable. We've aligned it to the business objectives of our partners as well, so that if they invest in this, they actually get something out of it as part of their corporate objectives. They're not doing us a favour, they're getting something out of it. We've made it as easy.
Can you give an example?
The objectives of partners, yeah.
No, well, what kind of business plans are we talking about?
Oh, local authority. Well, all organisations will have a business plan which will define their core objectives for 1 year, or 3 years, or 5 years.
Work program.
Work programs, yeah. But they're at a strategic level.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so local authorities, environment agency, the local police forces. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for participants. We don't want them having to work hard on our behalf. So we've engineered it so effectively all they have to do is to give us the data. We do all the analysis and they get the products. And that's important because they get added value, they get something out of it. We share success. This is badged as a joint enterprise. Nobody has primacy. So even though we're doing most of the work, we don't claim it as our own. And in fact, and the multi-agency group, we share ownership. So it goes round from agency to agency, so people feel a sense of ownership. We've recruited political support. And certainly in the UK, that's absolutely critical, having a political champion. I was at the CDC conference in Atlanta a few years ago, and Hillary Clinton was supposed to be there. And Hillary Clinton was the political lead for tracking in the States. Which has been fantastic. It leaves us in power. We've got local councils, but at least we've got some local political support there. And we persevered. It's taken me 10 years. You had 6 years. It's taken me 10 years. And this is very low level stuff. And our partners, local authority, that's public health, environmental health, housing, transport planning, the National Health Service, police, the Environment Agency. We've also actively recruited the public. We've got an online system for them to contact us, but we've also made formal contact with local pressure groups, so local environmental action groups, who can be a nuisance at times, we know, but they're still important. Universities, because some of the analysis is quite challenging, and universities are the best place to do that. And they give a sense of independence as well. And we share chairing of the meetings. I'll stop there, James. I've got lots of examples of good practice, which I'd really like to share, but we'd be here all evening. So have a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Atish.
Thank you.
Environmental health monitoring basically in 3 ways. We use 3 different sets of data. We have registries that are very good. Every single person in Sweden has a number. And so we have a lot of registries and they work very good. We also have questionnaires. This is what I'm going to talk about a bit. We also have questionnaires that are being sent out. Public health questionnaire is sent out annually, and an environmental health questionnaire is being sent out every 4th year. And the third that I wanted to talk to you about, that I wanted to do is which mostly regards to partnership, is our health-related environmental monitoring program. And this is interestingly financed by our EPA. There's an environmental protection agency that's actually financing the health-related monitoring. And just to show you this, their big program of environmental monitoring includes all of these areas, and the health-related one is actually just one of many. But it does make sense, because if you do see something going on in the freshwater, if something pops up, it's probably better that you find problems there before you find them in humans. So it does make sense. However, with this, in this program, the health-related one, it's been going on since '93, and it's basically human biomonitoring. It's government funded, but the work, the actual sampling and analysis is carried out by scientists, which is a win-win, because we get to use the data, but they get to publish, which we don't really need because we're a government agency. So perks for everyone. And the steering group consists of course, EPA, because they fund it. It's us at the Public Health Agency, and also the Chemicals Agency, because a lot of the elements they're chemicals, and the Chemicals Agency, they have all the knowledge on these chemicals, so they're in the group. And we also have one representative from the county administrations. We have 21 different counties in Sweden, and of course they have different problems. So it's very important that we have the local connecting to the local problems there. And this is a very successful program. And I wasn't going to say much more about that, but this connecting, I think the whole group, I think it's about 40 people in total, maybe more, that's working in this program. And what's so great is that it doesn't only provide great results and great data, but the networks between different government agencies and different scientists and the range across the country, because we have, of course, scientists up in the north and down the south. We're bringing them together, which brings not only the exchange of knowledge and experiences, but it also initiates other projects outside of the fund. So they build bridges, and they can actually go out and apply for EU funding for other projects connected to the environment.
Is time for a question?
Let's finish the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, finish.
Yeah, because she finished.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just related to this, because maybe I didn't catch it, but is that you have biomonitoring and environmental data, I mean, how you show this information, you know, I mean, or you also make some association among this data?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay. So, and you have, how you map this, I mean, you have, in which way you communicate this?
It's all in this, because it's all financed by the same.
Oh, from the EPA?
Yeah, so actually there's.
But from EPA.
Yeah, so there's actually one more. So the research.
That is quite challenging, I mean.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's all the data available, so the scientists have access to the biomonitoring data, but they also have a lot of environmental data.
You have a stable cohort following up, or is just an activity? Okay.
We have, it's this
Yes.
last bit, actual biomonitoring.
Some
So we have, what's ongoing is measuring metals, hair, urine, and measuring organic elements. So for example, there's a group in Uppsala, a town north of Stockholm, where you have your firstborn mothers, they take breast milk samples from them and analyze them for organic, and they do that every year. So you can see trends. It was actually interesting, from this study, they found all of a sudden an organic element that peaked, and it could, only in a subgroup of this area. And a while later, they found from environmental monitoring data, the same element peaked in stream water. And as a result, we have an emerging issue in Sweden with perforated elements that are from, they found out they're from fire bombs. So this is actually in areas that are close to where the military uses as fire practicing areas. They use it for foam, and it's been then trickling down to the groundwater and spreading. So we're popping up. There's 3 areas in Sweden now that we've found, and I think this is an emerging issue because I think every airport
How
around
you
the
manage
world.
information to population?
That was actually at a meeting 2 days ago,
Yeah.
where they brought in people from the military, of course, and from the different agencies, scientists, on how are we going to work with this problem, because it is only going to grow, and also internationally it's a big issue.
Yes.
Did you need to get ethical approval for biomonitoring?
Yes, yes.
And you got that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can keep on?
Sorry?
We can keep on.
Yes, I don't know.
You're done? Yes, this was the one. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that we have one short hour to discuss. It's really frustrating, but this is the way things are. The only thing we wanted is that when we will ask you to give your own experiences on partnerships building environmental public health network, but introduce yourselves and tell us your experience a little bit on this topic we are talking about, okay? So we know each other a little bit better. So, do you want to raise the questions, please?
Yeah. So I think for this working group, we propose 4 questions. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to capture the information, but the first question, and I think you all have this handout. You have this.
Yes, everybody has the.
Yeah. So I think the first question is, and maybe we can write them just to keep these discussions going. So I think the first question would be how to identify the key partner.
My name is Ivano Iaurone, and I'm a researcher of the Italian National Institute of Health, and I directed the WHO Collaborating Center for Environmental Health in Contaminated Sites. I'd like to bring to your attention our experience in environmental public health tracking concerning the European network on industrial contaminated sites and health. I'm trying to follow your question in my presentation, your 4 points. And as an introduction, Europe, the earlier industrialization and poor environmental management practices, especially concerning industrial wastes and industrial emissions, have left a legacy of thousands of contaminated sites. And several different activities can cause local and also diffuse contaminations in all different environmental media to an extent that they might threaten human health and environment. Both scientific and policy circles in Europe express concern on the possible health impact of these sites. And there are several aspects, including health, environment, and social ones, related to contaminated sites, which are strongly interconnected, and the local communities are often alarmed. Just to give you some figures, in Europe, the percentage of people living close to a contaminated site is quite large. We have almost 250,000 sites which require cleanup, and if we look at the different kind of contamination, type of pollutants, we can see that industrial production, industrial waste treatment and disposal, all industries are the main cause of soil and water contamination. But we have still the air contamination.
We really don't have time, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So, if you talk about the partnership,
Yes, Paolo told me that. Okay,
no,
I don't know.
Talk about the partnership.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we submit a preliminary proposal for a specific cost action supporting our network, and the idea is to bring together European scientists and institutions with multidisciplinary expertise, but common interests and duties on these topics. And we would like to establish harmonized data sets of environmental and health data and to harmonize and standardize the research methods for the EU member states. This is the area of potential partnership, this is a definition of industrial contaminated sites, to identify key potential partners and promoting the industrial contaminated sites and that network. We have different instruments. The first one is based on a consolidated collaborative work between the WHO and the Italian National Institute of Health, carried out in the last years by sharing experiences in ad hoc workshops among the researchers on environmental health issues coming from several European countries. And this is a report on the 2 meetings. And we have another way to identify key potential partners to promote the network, which is based on training and dissemination activities. We participated to a WHO European training course on capacity building, and we developed a special module on methods for risk assessment related to contaminated sites. And in this experience, we shared with 8 European countries. We had the occasion to share needs and priority and to get consent around the issue of environmental health in contaminated sites. The third way to identify key potential partners is our experience in the European Environment and Health Task Force, and the last meeting in December 2013, about 30 European countries met in Brussels to discuss the main issues for the next ministerial conference on environment and health. And we proposed, as delegates of the Ministry of Health, environmental health in contaminated sites with a focus on children, as a priority issue in the agenda for the next 6th ministerial conference. And in that occasion, several countries supported our proposal, and we invited them to join the European network. The last way we used is based on the activity of the WHO Collaborating Center, together with the European Center, with a joint action with the European Center for Environmental and Health in Bonn. And okay, there is a scientific program, expected results, and this is the last slide just to show you that the current composition of the network involve 15 European studies. 4 of them in yellow are participating in this workshop. Germany, France, Estonia, and Croatia are recently joined, are available to join the network. And another important point for us is the support of the European Commission, both from the DG for Environment and the Joint Research Center, and also the support from the European Environmental Agency, the WHO organization. Thank you.